Live from Chatterbox Sports Studios, it's Off the Bench with Tom Brennaman.
All righty, good morning, and a pleasant good Thursday morning to each and every one of you. We're late getting started today. We were having some, issues with the camera. Is that right, Reed Mouse?
Yeah, Casey's the technical support. I did nothing but help and support him and help him work through the problems. But, hey, we're up and running, so let's rock and roll, Tom.
You sound like a mental health counselor.
That's what oftentimes I'm considered in the office, as just helping everyone's mental health.
Casey, you all right over there? I mean, you normally stay very calm, that old adage about calm, cool, and collected. Are you okay over there?
Yeah. It just came across something that I wasn't quite familiar with. Did all the normal things that weren't working and ended up just being a simple restarting of the computer. So that's why it took so long.
You know what, Casey? I admire you are one of those people, and there are a lot of them. My wife is one of these people that you just figure stuff out.
Doesn't freak out about it.
No,
he just gets
I
it
mean,
done.
there is a lot to be said for having that trait. I sincerely mean that. I admire that very much.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We thank you.
Great under pressure. Not
for
cutter.
getting it done here today. We welcome you, as always, to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We come your way 10A to 12P, Monday through Friday. That's Eastern Time. You can join us on YouTube/Chatterbox Sports page if you'd rather join us in podcast form. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those every day, I understand. Just search Off the Bench with Tom Brennaman and you're dialed in. If it's not someone different every night for the Redlegs, it's something different every night for the Redlegs. But one thing remains the same. Not the song remains the same from Led Zeppelin. It's that the Reds keep winning, seemingly every night. July 5th, now that's a day we normally recover from fireworks and guys like Elliott who are shooting them off at 11:30 at night. But last night they kept on coming in D.C. Batgate, Sleevegate, whatever you want to call it. There was another investigation in D.C. last night, and it wasn't Hunter Biden. It was Reds rookie Elly De La Cruz. If you didn't see it, he comes to bat with this sleeve on his bat, okay, near the knob, right? And they use it during batting practice to measure some different things. They take that part of it out, but he is just comfortable with the sleeve near the knob of the bat. So Nationals manager Davey Martinez asked the umpires to check it out, okay? Now, this had already been taken care of with Major League Baseball. David Bell, a lot of foresight here. He reached out to the powers that be in New York long before De La Cruz was even brought up from AAA. But no one in New York could tell the umpiring crew that sleeve had already been approved by Major League Baseball. They make him take it off. He strikes out. Well, as the game goes on, the umpires here from New York, sleeve is okay, so they let him put it back on. And what does he do? He clubs a 455-foot home run and then taps on his bat and looks at the Nationals dugout after he does it. He adds 2 doubles after that as Cincinnati rolls 9-2 over Washington, their 3rd straight win in the series, their 4th straight win overall. And then there's Graham Ashcraft. This guy looked like the best pitcher in Major League Baseball in April. He looked like the worst pitcher in Major League Baseball in May and June. And now he's rallied with back-to-back outstanding starts. Last night, 6 innings, 7 hits allowed, only gave up 1 run. His 4th win of the year. Final game of the series is at 1 o'clock today. Brandon Williamson opposes Mackenzie Gore. The Reds now lead the National League Central Division by 2 games after the Brewers lost to your Cubbies.
Dang right they did, Tom. No one's better in the NL Central at coming back than the Cubs.
Well, then there must be a problem when they get ahead.
Well, no one's better at blowing a lead than the Chicago Cubs.
Speaking of Milwaukee, the Reds are headed there for a 3-game series tomorrow night. Now, this is the first of 6 games in a row against the Brewers because they're going to play them the final 3 before the All-Star break in Milwaukee starting tomorrow night. And then the first 3 games after the break at Great American Ballpark. Andrew Abbott How about the matchup tomorrow night? Faces two-time All-Star and Cy Young Award winner from 2 years ago, Corbin Burns, in the series opener. Paul Daugherty, been a while. He's been out of the country. He'll join us in about 10 minutes to talk about the Red Legs. Should they wheel and deal? He's been writing on Substacks. They should make the deals to get pitcher to try and win it right now. Elsewhere in baseball, Mike Trout underwent surgery for a broken wrist. He's expected to miss at least 8 weeks, and the Angels are really in the hunt. They're only 4 back in the wild card. I don't understand it yet. We're going to get more details about it, but the Final Four of the NBA's new in-season tournament will take place December 7th and December 9th in Las Vegas. Full details on that competition, including the groupings, will be unveiled by Commissioner Adam Silver on Saturday night. I really don't understand that whole thing. It's like soccer. It's a tournament inside of a season. The stats count, except for the championship game. But like I said, we'll learn more about it when we get to that point. So this is right up your alley, Casey. I mean, 2 or 3 different tournaments going on at the same time during a year.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
All right, and the NFC doesn't play again in that Lamar Hunt Open Cup again until what, August? Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Against Messi, right?
Yep.
That's their
Enter
next
Miami.
game.
That'll be big league.
Well, I know Messi.
I think it's 23rd, August 23rd. Something close to that.
That'll be fun. That'll be fun. All right, boys. Before we get to Doc, let's talk about a couple things last night. First of all, Elly De La Cruz. I mean, this guy, he hadn't even played 30 games yet. He's hit for the cycle, right? He is hitting these monster home runs. He's had a couple of 4-hit games. He is as advertised. Now, we talked with Nick Kirby yesterday about his struggles against left-handed pitching. We'll see how that plays out. But let's be honest about it. This guy, I mean, the Reds haven't seen a guy like this since Eric Davis. I want to know your guys' impression or thoughts on what Elly De La Cruz did last night. Can we pull up that video of just the isolation of what he did after he hit the home run last night when he tapped on the end of the bat and then looked into the Nationals dugout?
Yeah, I think I got it here.
Okay, let's take a look.
1 second. Pulling it up.
All right, we're not going to see it, I don't think, on that one that you're getting ready to pull up. There is an ISO that I think the Reds posted that had his celebration. We'll get to it. Okay, anyway. Elliot, we begin with you since you were the man last night on Chatterbox Reds. First of all, how was that debut last night?
It was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. Nick showed me the ropes. Nick was a very good host last night. And he was very nice to let me on. But it was fun. It was awesome. The Reds winning makes it easier.
Yeah.
Obviously, but I think talking about this Elly thing, I think Elly did the right thing. Davey Martinez is calling out our guy for a knob, and his team can't compete. I think Elly had every right to do what he did, and you'll see it right here.
All right, let's see it. There you go.
If you're gonna call out a player, he has every right to call you out after he smashes your theory, and he just did. I don't care how. I mean, it might come off as a little bit of a showboat. I don't care. Elly's the coolest guy in this city. He's the coolest guy in baseball right now.
You're right about that.
City?
Yeah, in the city. Elly De La Cruz? Yeah.
Is he cooler than Joe Cool?
Well,
Joe
come on.
That's a big statement, Elliot.
Oh, come on.
Right now at this second.
Yeah.
Okay, I go Elly, but to each their own, I
When
guess.
Elly gets invited to the white party at the Hamptons,
That's right.
that's when he's cooler than Joe Burrow.
That's when you know.
Elly'd be looking good at that party.
Ellie's not even the coolest.
He's got the long hair. He's got it all going on. You
Right.
get him in a white outfit, and he'd be all decked out.
Right,
What are you
absolutely.
getting ready to say?
I said Elly De La Cruz isn't even the coolest Elly in town. Elliot takes that championship.
Oh, very, very nice. All right, Jacob, your thoughts on what we just saw.
I like it. I'm all for players, bat flipping and showboating and, talking whenever they get the chance. Cam Newton in his 2015 MVP season said it best when he was dabbing on everybody. If you don't like me to celebrate, don't let me score.
Yeah,
if you don't want Ellie pointing at his bat knob, don't let him hit a nuke on the entire capital of D.C.
Right.
That thing almost left the stadium.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
You can't be doing that. You don't walk these pitchers out and then complain when our batters kill the baseball? Come on.
Now, David Bell did not have a problem with it. He understood it. I mean, he handled that very, very well. He said, hey, look. He said, Davey Martinez didn't know about this thing, and he was just inquiring to the umpires. That's where I just have a hard time understanding the way some things work. Okay? If you're the head of umpires for Major League Baseball, okay, and I don't know who has that job now, but Ted Barrett works with the umpires in Major League Baseball. He was on this show a couple of weeks ago. Doesn't it make sense that before the Cincinnati Reds are going to play in a series, okay, and the umpires all gather together and they check in with New York to make sure, because they're seeing teams all over baseball. So there might be, for example, remember a few years ago there was a lot of bad blood between the Reds and the Pirates. They broke the all-time record.
Right.
In a single season record of most batters hit. Right. In a season series. I mean, there were guys getting drilled left and right?
Clint Hurdle.
Well, look, the Reds were a part of that thing, too. I mean, Chapman's buzzing Andrew McCutcheon up around his chin every time the guy came to the plate. So, I mean, both sides had it going on. Point I'm making is this, is that the umpires are made aware of situations like that before a series begins. And what they'll normally do is the first game of the series, when the managers come out, right, they'll say, hey, fellas, look, I know there's been some stuff going on here in the past. We're shutting this stuff down now. First sign of it, okay? Don't you think someone at Major League Baseball has enough time, right, to get on the horn with the crew chief every series the Reds play and just say, hey, by the way, a month and a half ago before this guy was even brought to the big leagues, we've already given the okay on this thing on his bat, right?
Yeah, they probably should have done that already, but I mean, after it's happened now, it's never going to happen again. That one at-bat is the one at-bat he'll have to go without having that sleeve, without having the knob, whatever the case was. That'll never happen again. So, I mean, it just slipped through the cracks, and it's just one at-bat, so it'll be good now.
Okay, but look, that's somebody's job. Just do the job. Casey, what did you think about Ellie De La Cruz doing that?
I had no problems with it. I loved it. I love guys that have a sense of passion when they're called out. So I was all for it.
Okay. Reed?
Tom, I didn't watch the game a whole lot last night.
Okay, but I mean, you've seen the replay. You know what the deal is. You don't have to watch the game and know this.
I'm always pro adding a bit of flair, adding a bit of excitement, a little trash talking. They're competitors. So what do you do when you compete, when you're at the height of your competition? You mouth off sometimes.
Absolutely.
That's just part of the game.
No doubt.
And everyone can disagree with it. That's fine. But it makes the game better. Objectively, it makes the game better.
I agree. I mean, look, anybody that goes to a high school sporting, I mean, my son used to come home from these lacrosse games, and he would tell me about the smack talking that was going on the field during the game. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Is Brenia?
Oh, yeah.
I bet you can talk some smack.
Yeah. But when you're the goalie, you better not let him score.
True.
Right?
True.
No, but I'm saying, the point I'm making is here, not talking about him necessarily, but I'm just saying, that's going on high school basketball, high school football, high school baseball, college football.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, you're with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Guy makes a catch and the cornerback's on him and he makes a great. I mean, come on, right?
Yeah, it's every play. And it's great. I love it. It just adds an extra flair to the game.
Yeah, as long as it just doesn't go like anything else. There's just, there's boundaries there, right? You don't start talking about somebody's sister or their mom. That's a whole different deal. But this is anybody who gets worked up about what De La Cruz did last night. I don't understand it. I do understand, I must say, And let me check this in the chat because somebody made the point. And look, I'm an old guy too. Let me see this. Where was it? Oh, Rick Pennington says old guy. He's talking about himself. He said, this is what you get when you just let them have fun. That was a big logo. Remember the big thing for Major League Baseball? Mm-hmm. Let's let them have some fun. Right. And some of these old unwritten rules. And they cross the line of being disrespectful, a lost art of professional sports. I do agree with him on that. I think there is a lot of some of the stuff that goes on is very disrespectful. I did not think that Ellie De La Cruz last night was being disrespectful. I mean, some might interpret that way.
No, he wasn't being disrespectful. I mean, no, he wasn't being disrespectful. No, Tom.
Okay. The other part, and we're going to talk a lot about the Reds, obviously. I mean, they're in first place. They got a 2-game lead. They got one more game, as I mentioned today, at 1 o'clock in this series. And then it is on to Milwaukee. This is, without a doubt. You can talk about the COVID year. I mean, at the end of the day, after getting shut out the 2 games in Atlanta, the Reds were a 500 team that year. And they had some great stars on that team, especially the starting rotation, where they had Bauer, who won the Cy Young. They had Sonny Gray, who was just an excellent pitcher. They had Luis Castillo, big star. But there wasn't the vibe with that team. They were a 500 team, and you played 60 games or whatever it was. They're nowhere close to the vibe of this team. And so, some are going to say, Tom, you're dead wrong about this. But I'm going to take out the COVID year because I didn't think the Reds were that good, and they proved it in the playoffs, and there was no juice. There was no flair. There was no pizzazz. There was no whatever, right, about that team, except for really when Bauer pitched. This is the biggest series, and we're only in July, so we're going to say this a few more times moving forward. But I would make the argument this is the biggest series starting tomorrow that the Reds have played in since 2012, maybe 2013 when they wilted. Agree or disagree?
I agree. I think this 6-game stretch is the most important we've seen in a very long time in Cincinnati. I think we're 2 games up right now in the Brewers.
2 games up.
So I'd like to win 2 games. Let's win the series, and then let's go from there. But I think right now the Reds are in a position to win the NL Central. They've played the best baseball in the National League outside of Atlanta. I think this series is huge. It's a huge part of where we go. It's a huge part of should we make deals at the deadline? Because if you go 0 for 6 against the Brewers here, what do we really have at that point? Can you still win the division? Should you still go all in at the deadline? Do you go all in anyway? This is a huge test. If you sweep the Brewers, if you win 4 of 6 against Milwaukee, it's go time. It's go time from that point on. The division is yours. So we'll see. But this is massive. And I am glad to be there tomorrow for Abbott versus Burns.
You're going to Milwaukee?
That's right. I will be.
You are.
I am. I will be there for that game. I'm very, very excited for it. I think Abbott dominates. Burns has not pitched as well this year, so I like the Reds' chances.
You going down the slide?
I will not. I will not be going down the slide. The slide's stupid. That's a gimmick.
Oh, come on.
Oh, it's stupid.
Awesome.
Tom,
Are you Elliot? I can't believe a guy like you,
Tom,
West Side guy.
Tom, you wouldn't slide down that slide.
I asked to slide down it multiple times as part of a pregame show every time we'd go to Milwaukee. I tried to do that, but they have, legal issues with people going and doing it because if all of a sudden you go flying off that thing, you're dead, and then all of a sudden they're sued for $1 billion, right?
Yeah.
So they wouldn't let you do it. I tried and tried and tried. And I know a lot of people inside, including the owner, Antonasio, who I really like a lot. Great dude. Really great dude. But come on.
So, Tom.
You don't think Bernie Brewer is the coolest mascot
this
side
of
the Philly fanatic?
No, I do not. I'm a Gapper guy. Ride or die.
I can't
Gapper.
Tom, you never got to slide down that slide?
Never got to do it. No, and I believe me, when I say I tried for years, I legitimately tried for years to do that as part of a pregame show. Jim Day and I ended up, they have another thing inside of what used to be Miller Park. I don't know what they call it now. But They have all kinds of different things along the concourse that
Yeah.
you can go do. So there was not a go-kart race, but it was something like that. Jim Day and I went and did like a 10-minute segment in the pregame show of all the different things you could go do. You know, competitive kind of stuff, fun stuff in and inside the ballpark. But they would never let us go down the slide.
Wow.
I can't believe you're not going to do this for Zebra Zealander.
Zebra Zillionaire. Listen. If they permit me to go on this slide, I will go down on this slide.
I am so upset that Tom never got to go down the slide.
Me too.
I'm upset about that.
I am too. Because I mean that was one of the few, visiting teams, opposing teams, where I had a little pull, I thought. And it just goes to show you I was fooling myself. Okay, no Paul Daugherty yet?
He's dialing in. As we speak.
Dialing in as we speak. I want to get his thoughts on this because he has been he's been like me on this deal. And I think this is one of the very rare times where Doc and I are going to agree on something about the Reds wheeling and dealing. Because, look, he's been around his town for 30-plus years. He has seen a lot of bad football. He's seen a lot of bad baseball. And this year he's seeing good football, we think, and obviously good baseball. The other thing, I talk about The Athletic a lot. I have to tell you, and I'm going to ask Doc about this. I don't know if he gets The Athletic or subscribes to it. I do. I pay for it. No freebies. No payola. This Corey Dillon interview yesterday that he did with Paul Daner Jr. is one of the most unbelievable interviews I have ever read about because it was in written form. Corey Dillon says, listen, I don't want you to do, any sort of, I don't know what the word is. I'm drawing a blank. Doc's a hell of a lot smarter than I am on this stuff. Doc, good morning. It's nice to have you back in the good old U.S. of A. How was your trip?
It was fantastic, man. We went to Italy. 2 weeks. I recommend it highly.
Where did you go in Italy?
We went a week on the Italian Riviera.
Boy, that's
right?
A guy like you belongs on the Italian. When I think of the Italian Riviera, I think of Paul
me.
Daugherty.
Yeah, it sounds big time. It's actually just a nice beach area. We went there for a week, and then we went to Tuscany and drank a bunch of wine for the other week. And two completely different places, man. One was very, very busy, hectic, loud, beautiful, the beach. And the other was just out in the middle of Italian countryside nowhere. And it was,
just you and your bride or what? I mean, how many people went along on this deal?
Yeah, Carrie, myself, and our son Kelly went.
Wow, fantastic. Well, welcome back. We're glad you're safe. Glad you had a great time. Memories that'll last a lifetime, no doubt, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Listen, before we get to the Reds, do you read The Athletic?
Sure.
Okay. Did you read the article today written by Paul Daner Jr. with Corey Dillon?
No.
Okay.
Didn't get to that yet.
You got to read it. And then we'll have you back, and I'm going to ask you your thoughts on it. But here, basically, in a nutshell, I mean littered with F-bombs, and in a day and age where every single athlete virtually you talk to, won't say anything. No waves, no ripples, for crying out loud, right? This guy is asked about the Bengals Ring of Honor and the Hall of Fame. And Daner Jr. lays out all of these statistics over Corey Dillon's career. And when you read those statistics and you read the 10 guys in the history of football that meet his yards per carry, his total yards rushing, and his yards rushing per game, he is one of 10 guys that meets this certain threshold, and the other 8 in the Hall of Fame are in the Hall of Fame, and he's not even getting a sniff. The same thing for the Bengals Ring of Honor. And he goes on to talk about season ticket holders should not be voting on this, that a lot of those people never saw him or Bob Trumpy or a bunch of other guys even play. Corey Dillon, for you, you covered this guy his entire career, What are your thoughts on Corey Dillon? A lot of people feel like some of his off-the-field stuff is what has kept him from being honored, whether it be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame or maybe even this Bengals Ring of Honor.
He was the best Bengals running back I've ever seen. I used to write that he ran angry. He ran mean. I've never seen another guy run angrier than Corey Dillon. He seemed to be mad at the world most of the time. That said, his career here was beyond legit, and it's just his fate that he played here on usually bad football teams. And the Bengals, as we know, historically have not done a lot to boost the Hall of Fame prospects of their guys. I don't know if he belongs in the Hall of Fame or not, frankly. I haven't read the story. I've never really done a deep dive on Corey Dillon's numbers in relation to everybody else's. I will only say that he was the best Bengals running back I've ever seen, and he was highly cantankerous, put it that way.
Yes.
Wasn't the easiest guy to deal with. It's funny, when he came back, it was a couple of years ago, and we had him on the show, the Beyond the Stripes show that the Inquirer used to do down at Moorline, among other places, and he was our guest. Could not have been nicer.
Yeah.
Sweetest guy ever. People just, they mature at different levels, at different times, at different rates, right? Corey was not the most mature guy as a player in Cincinnati, but that didn't detract. In fact, it may have helped him become the running back that he was. And once he got to New England, he got himself a Super Bowl ring, and nobody can take that away from him. I got nothing but great things to say about Corey Dillon, the football player.
Yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, this article is, I don't know if like I said, I don't know if I've read anything quite like this in a long, long time. He made Paul Dehner Jr. Basically verbatim just print in this story every single thing that he said. Everything. And it was, whoa. I mean, and he basically concluded it by saying, and Cincinnati isn't the only place I'm about to go off on, because if somebody from New England asks me about it, I'm going to say the same thing. So that was that. Anyway, I'm curious. If you had, and I don't know how much attention you've paid to this, Doc, the season ticket holders are the ones, or the suite holders too, are voting on the Bengals Ring of Honor. We had Bob Trumpy on the show last week. You used to do sports talk on WLW for a number of years. Trump was a guy who basically, was the granddaddy of them all. Of that show going back to the late 70s and the 80s and the 90s, et cetera, et cetera. If you had a vote to put in 2 or 3 of those guys who are up, and it's probably unfair of me to ask you because you may not have it in front of you, you may not even be paying attention to it. Who are the next 2 or 3 guys for you? You've been here 30 plus years that should be in that Bengals Ring of Honor.
I don't know. Like you said, I'm not paying attention to it because I don't vote on it. But give me some names and I'll tell you. Okay,
well, you got Corey Dillon. You got Chad Johnson, Chad Ochocinco.
Yes.
You go back to Boomer Esiason. You've got Max Montoya. You've got Dave Lapham. You have, help me here, fellas. You got Bob Trumpy. I said him, Bob Trumpy. Who else? I mean, there are others. Am I forget? Dave. Did you say Dave? I said Dave Lapham. Willie got in last year. Right. Boomer, Chris Collinsworth, Boomer Esiason, Jim Breach, Tim Crumry. I know you were a big Crumry fan. Who? Max Montoya. Yeah, Max Montoya, right. David Fulcher, Leapin Lamar Parrish. So basically, those are your guys. If you had to pick, and I know I'm throwing you on the spot here, and you weren't here for the Leapin Lamar Parishes of the world. James Brooks, was he on that list, I hope? Yeah, James, what an unbelievable player he was. He was the best Bengals running back I ever saw. But anyway, Doc, any of those jump off and you say to yourself they got to be in?
Well, I wrote this a month or two ago. I think Dave Lapham is number one front and center. A lot of people don't agree with that. Dave was a good player, not a great player. But in terms of what he represents to that franchise, and who he is and what he continues to do, I don't think there's any question that Dave Lapham belongs in any Bengals Hall of Fame. I mean, it's like your dad, Tom, like your dad not being in the Reds Hall of Fame. Why would he not be in the Reds Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Why would Dave Lapham not be in the Bengals Hall of Fame? He is as representative of the Bengals franchise as Marty was of the Reds franchise. So I'd go with him. Like I said, Corey Dillon, best running back I ever saw here, and I've seen a few, so he goes in. I don't think there's any question that Chad goes in. After that, I guess it depends on, at least for me personally, and I applied the same sort of logic to the Baseball Hall of Fame, which I still vote on. How do you define Hall of Famer? And does the more people you allow in, does it cheapen being in the Hall of Fame? And I think you have to look at it from that perspective. And you might have a tighter set of qualifications, shall we say. But the guys that I mentioned, I think are hands down. Corey, Chad, and Lap all belong in there.
Yeah, the one guy I had is a lock to be in there because, look, you can sit here and debate. You said Corey Dillon, I said James Brooks, but I had moved away by the time Dillon really got going and wasn't watching him every week. And numbers-wise, he by far has the best numbers. The same for Chad Ochocinco as far as wide receiver is concerned. But, you can sit there and debate who the greatest wide receiver is in the history of the Bengals. You can debate who the best running back is. There is zero debate on who the best tight end is. And you go back, and we had Trumpy on last week, and I was doing some research and looking at some of the numbers, and I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, this guy was just, without a doubt, the best tight end the Bengals ever had and really revolutionized the game of football playing for Paul Brown. First tight end ever in the history of football, ever, that did not line up next to the tackle. He would be split into the slot because he was such a great athlete. Anyway, okay, I want to get to the Reds.
Yeah.
Doc, you and I talked about this when the season began. Nobody saw this coming. What are your thoughts of this team and watching what has transpired really over the last month? McLean comes up, De La Cruz comes up, Abbott comes up, and off they go.
It's absolutely stunning. I mean, I've been here since 1988. I've certainly never seen anything like it here. And I'm sure there are other places that have brought kids up like this and elevated the team far beyond anybody's imagination. But I don't know other places. I know this place. It is beyond belief. I mean, I wrote about this the other day, Tom. We all think we're so smart about this stuff. I probably wrote half a dozen times last winter wondering where the Reds were going to get their offense.
Yep.
I said, this team is going to lose a lot of 3-2 games. Yeah, that made a lot of sense, didn't it? The pitching would be, Lodolo, Green, Ashcraft would be the key to the season. Their progress would define whether this season would be a success or a failure. Well, now that the Reds have blasted off really without much contribution from any of those guys, put that on the list of things we had no idea what we were talking about, or at least I didn't. I'm amazed by a few things. One is that the attitude that they have fostered since spring training and maintained through the ups and the downs and continue to play in a way that makes their opponents sometimes embarrassingly flat-footed. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm watching them play the Nationals yesterday and throughout the weekend, and the Nationals just don't look like they want to be there in comparison with the Reds. And it's not just,
I agree.
It's not just taking the extra base or being really fast and stealing lots of bases, because that's athleticism, and anybody can do that. I won't say anybody, but anybody with the kind of speed can steal a lot of bases. But they just play with this sort of abandon that catches other teams off guard. I don't know why more teams haven't done it, frankly. Maybe they don't have the collective athleticism that this team does, but you can try it. The old Scott Rowland needs you on third, Brucey attitude that doesn't require athleticism. That's a mindset. And I'm also thinking, and maybe somebody's written about this and I've missed it. This stuff didn't just show up when these guys got to Cincinnati, right? I saw them try 2 bunts in 2 innings last week. I don't think they tried 2 bunts all year last year. The emphasis on fundamentals, they seem not to make mistakes in the field. They don't often throw to the wrong base. They do things right almost all the time, and that just didn't appear here. I'd really be interested in reading what's going on at the minor league level, because you and I both recall that some of the biggest complaints about this organization in the last 20 years is there was no consistency as to how they did things in the minor leagues, the so-called Reds way. What was the Reds way? Brian Price used to bitch that, we got all these starting pitchers who come up here and can't throw a changeup. Why weren't they taught to throw a changeup when they were in the minor leagues?
Right.
And they seem to have found this consistency in what they're teaching and what their philosophy is, so that guys like McLean and Dillon, Cruz and probably Encarnacion Strand, when he comes up here, they all play this way. They play with a consistently sound, fundamental approach. They don't give away at bats. I saw the Nationals swing at some terrible pitches yesterday off Ashcraft. They don't seem to do that a lot. They move runners over. They get them on, get them over, get them in. This is learned behavior, Tom. These guys don't show up in Daytona Beach or wherever having this already. So I'd really like to know what's going on at the minor league level with this team.
Well, this is where, and I have told this story many, many times on this show and away from this show, where when Nick Krall got the job, and you know this, Doc, and it doesn't always mean the old-timers are the be-all, end-all. But I remember being at the ballpark when Nick Krall got the job and how a number of scouts that had been around baseball a long time, legendary scouts from different franchises, and sitting in the media room having dinner. And I always used to love, from time to time, sitting down with about 4 or 5 of those guys and just catching up and saying hello and talking baseball, blah, blah, blah. Each one of those guys said to me, aside from everybody else, they're like, you guys have really made the right move here by hiring Nick Krall. There are a lot of people out there, maybe some of the new analytics guys, but certainly I can only speak to some of the old-timer guys that felt like there were a lot of people thinking that this was the right guy for the right job, and all of the things you just talked about, he has to have some hand in this.
No question. I'm really happy for Nick. One, he's a humble guy.
Yep.
And 2, he's paid his dues. He's one of those guys that started at the bottom and just kept working, and now he is where he is, and he deserves to be where he is. And I saw the other day, made me chuckle, Jim Bowden of all people saying that he should be executive of the year. Bowden had some good years here.
Yes, he did.
Didn't accomplish them quite the way that Nick Krall has, but anyway, yeah, I think he's right, though. I think Nick and David Bell are lifers, and they know what they know, and they seem pretty confident about what they know, and it's paying dividends, and we can only hope that, 1, they can be kept here, and 2, they be allowed to finish what they've started.
Well, the David Bell thing, his contract is up at the end of the year. There are a lot of people out there, when you play this well, and you know how this goes. I mean, when things are going good, you want to give everybody a contract and sign them to a long-term deal and blah, 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 and then you do it. And in a year from now, if you turn out to be the St. Louis Cardinals of this year, people are wondering why in the hell did we do A, B, C, and D. We'll find out what happens with Bell. He's done a great job. There's no doubt about it. But you just mentioned Jim Bowden. Look, I know a lot of people don't like him. He's always been good to me every single time I've ever dealt with a guy. And I've always said that if you gave him an owner that would give him some rope, this guy would put together a championship team. In my opinion, even though they didn't win it, that 1995 team was better than the 1990 team that won the World Series, I thought. And one of the big reasons that team, you remember, Doc, I mean, when he pulled off the deals going down the stretch there for David Wells, one of the top pitchers in the game, Mark Portugal, outstanding pitcher for many years with the Giants, and he brings in Dillon. When that's the guy, I don't know at that level, but in my opinion, and I think you agree, I'm sure you've written about it, I think this is a year the Reds got to wheel and deal to try and go for it and win it all. I look at the National League, and I don't see juggernauts out there, Doc. I don't see them. The Dodgers, the Kershaw's hurt. The 4/5 of their starting row, in fact, all 5 of their starters that began the year are all out injured. They are not a juggernaut. The Diamondbacks are having a good year. They're not a juggernaut. Miami's having a good year. They're not a juggernaut. Anybody in this National League with decent starting pitching, I think the Reds can beat them.
I think the Braves are clearly the class of the league.
Yeah, they're the best. No doubt about it. They're in a separate category. Yeah.
But I agree with you, and I've said this forever. If you have a chance to win something, go try to win it, and that applies more in baseball than in football, for example, because the economics being what they are. If you're a small money team, your odds of being in this position are not high, and this is the year to take advantage of that. And you're right, and it's obvious what the Reds need. And it's obvious what they have a surplus of. It's not as if, well, we got to think about this and where do we want to lose guys and we're not sure what exactly do we need. It's obvious what they need, and it's obvious that they've got the trade bait to get what they need. It's just a question of whether they want to do it and whether they can find a suitable partner. People sometimes forget that, there's another team involved in this too, you know, and they want something back, and maybe what they want back is excessive. But I think I agree with you completely. If ever the Reds were to go for it, this would be the year to do it.
Well, I would love to see him go do it, and I don't know all the particulars. I know making a deal and putting together a deal is a lot harder than all of us sitting around a room and figuring out, well, why not those 2 guys for this guy? I just look at where the roster is right now. I think that you could cut loose. Whether it's a current player who's a part of your team, now maybe that might disrupt the fabric of your team a little bit, or whether it's one of these minor league guys that's very highly touted. The Reds' future is not going to live and die on one player that's playing in single A or double A or triple A right now. I don't think.
Well, plus they've got an abundance of shortstops. How many shortstops do you need? If they lose one of 3 or 4 shortstops, sure, that guy may turn out to be really good, but you already got that position covered. So who cares how he does for somebody else if you've already got a guy who's as good or better playing for your team? So I mean, go for it. Yeah, the chance doesn't come around very often in little old Cincinnati, small market Cincinnati. So, strike while the iron's hot, right?
Yeah, we use a line all the time that George Grant liked to use. You don't pick the year you're going to contend. The year picks you. And,
right.
Everybody I say this all the time. Everybody in St. Louis, when this season started, everybody and his brothers picking them to win the Central. Everybody and his brothers picking them to go to the LCS. And here they are. Yeah. They can't get out of their own way. Last night, we'll show it later. I don't know if you saw the end of that game. That's their season in a nutshell. Comebacker to the mound, 2 guys on, 9th inning. Guy throws a ball over the first baseman's head down the line. 2 runners score. They lose a game. It's a mess. It's a mess. All right, Doc, great seeing you. Welcome really back. What's that?
You. I said we feel really bad for the folks in St. Louis, too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Kind of a heartbreaker for us.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. All right, buddy, all the best. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, Paul Daugherty kind of jumps to join us. He's writing for the Bend now. The Benjamin. That's a big league operation he's writing for.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, all the gang over there, Jackie Rao and all them at game day, and they started. Doc's kind of moved into. He's in Italy. He's on the Riviera down there on the beach, and now he's writing for this sort of Esquire-like website where they have fashion, they have all this kind. That's where Doc is now.
He's not humble folk like us here at Chatterbox, right, Tom?
Well, last time I checked, there are only 2 guys in a room that are public school guys. Casey, you know who those 2 would be?
You're gonna have to remind me, Tom. Who are they?
That would be you and me.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Whoa. I went
All the rest of the liberal parochial elite are sitting in this room.
Altiora.
I went to Fillmore Elementary in kindergarten, Tom. I was a public school kid for exactly 1 year.
I was public school through 8th grade.
Too much of a problem child, though. Got kicked out.
Jake Seaman just writes, Tom, my dad said he grew up with you, and he wants to know if it's true. Jake, it is. In fact, your dad reached out to me the other day. Great dude. And I think he wants me to reach out to you. I just got an email from him the other day. Okay. When we come back, we're going to run the highlight of that Cardinals game.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Not right now. Ham and Eggers, you guys handle it for a second, and I will be right back. Ham and Eggers, Mr. President, raised $35 million the last quarter.
Politics.
Take it away. $35 million.
It's that time of the show, the Ham and Eggers. These guys are great. Trust me, I would know. I introduce all the best segments.
Thank you, Donald. I wonder who Tom's going to vote for in the primary. The Bengals Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data center world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing models to improve efficiency and
Productivity.
Yeah, that was great. Visit encore.tech. The path to innovation begins not there, not over there, but here. All right. And of course, we gotta pub up our Pawnee water, and the question still remains, are you drinking regular water when you know, we've been saying it for months, that alkaline water has been proven to have superior hydration benefits to regular water in a clinical study, and no one makes better alkaline water than right across the street here in Hamilton, Ohio. That's Pawnee water. The natural limestone filtration gets out all the bad stuff, gives you the good stuff, and they put it all in the bottle. Great branding bottle. Only one ingredient in that bottle, that is water. pH levels are perfect. The taste is perfect. Some say it's the best tasting water in the world. That some is me. That's them, because it is. It just is. Objectively the best tasting water in the world. You can find out where you can get Pawnee at pawneewater.com. That's PAHHNI water.com. You can find out where you can get this in a store near you. If you're in Butler County, just go to the local gas station. You'll probably find it. They're stretching out. They're trying to get into more gas stations. It all helps with you guys. We're also going to pub the merch. Casey, go ahead and flash that merch up there. If you haven't seen it already, go to chatterboxsports.com. Go to the store. We also have The Word, which has started the blog. But this is the merch. If you haven't already, you spend $100 in merch, you get a free ticket to Chatterbox Night. That comes with 2 drinks. That comes with food. We'll all be there on the riverboat. You can meet all of us. And you also get 4 T-shirts from the merch store. So a lot of good stuff. Who came up with that Harambe Connect T-shirt?
I don't know who it was, but they have a sharp mind, a brilliant mind.
Yep. If you're sipping the Crawley,
and by the way, I'd really like that Harambe shirt to be the #1 sold shirt. If we can make that happen, because it's going to be an ego boost for whoever did actually make it, or whose idea it was.
Yeah. The problem if that Harambe shirt sells out is that Elliot's going to have to go shopping for a whole new wardrobe of hats because his head's going to be so big because he knows the person who personally made the Harambe shirt. And he desperately wants that person to get the claim that they so admirably desire.
Yeah, that person doesn't want
Tom.
We had that. Did you see that last week? Paul had to run across the camera, Tom. He just ran straight across it.
I saw it.
You weren't quite as elegant.
No, that was. Well, I think Tom's was much better. I think Tom's was much better.
We need the Reed pick. What is the Reed pick?
Speaking of Reed, what a performance you had last night.
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun.
Tom, did you hear about this?
No, please fill me in.
Reed threw a complete game.
More than a complete game.
More than a complete game.
Well, you can't do more than a complete game. That's not how. That's not how it works.
Only gave up 1 earned run, Tom. His strikeout numbers aren't great. I'll say that.
Doesn't matter.
Pitched kind of like Ashcraft last night, but he helped his team to a 2-1 victory?
2-1 victory in 9 innings. Only a 7-inning game.
That is impressive.
Beat a former Muskie pitcher, Jeff Barger, who also went to Hamilton, Ohio, or went to Baden. He's also a police officer. I forget what city he pitches in, or pitches in, what city he's a police officer for. But he's a great guy.
But you outdueled him last time.
I did. I had youth on my side. He's every bit of 43 years old, Tom.
Well, I mean, you should have never said that, because there was a lot of credit about to come your way, and you're telling me that what are you, 20 what, 4?
I am 27 years old,
27-year-old outduels a 40. I mean, that's like Hunter Green beating Phil Necro.
Tom,
right?
We've come a long way. We've come a long way, because just a few months ago you asked if I was in my 30s. Now you're saying I'm 24.
Well, you told me you were in your 20s, and I drew a blank on what it was. But 43, Everett says 43 is the new 33.
There we go. Casey, you got this video of how the St. Louis Cardinals lost the game yesterday, and we were talking before the show. The one thing that is just so hard to imagine from the St. Louis Cardinals is how bad they are defensively. Casey, go ahead and play this.
All right, watch this. We'll go back now. There were 2 runners on, 9th inning, okay? 1 out, first and second. It's a 1-2 pitch to the batter. Here we go.
Now his 1-2 pitch. Runners take off. Little tapper in front of the mound. The runners will advance. Double clutch, and he threw it away. Down the line. 1 run scores. Gurriel around third. He's going to score, and the Marlins walk off. Unbelievable.
That's brilliant.
I can't believe it, Tom.
Stay with us for a minute. Chip's got a nice little recap on this thing coming up. Marlins, by the way, are pretty damn good.
Yeah, they are.
Here it is.
Have found so many ways to win. This might be the biggest dagger and the worst way possible to lose. A comebacker with 1 out. Hicks fields the double clutch, and he airmailed it to first. And the Marlins clear the bases and walk off and stun the Cardinals 10-9.
All right, there you go. How about that?
1-run victory.
How about that? Now, that's the kind of game. And look, I might end up being 1,000% wrong, because I got my son, I got other buddies of mine that are telling me the Cardinals are still going to come back and win this thing in the Central. I'm not buying it.
Under 500.
Yeah, I'm not buying it for a second. I don't believe it.
16 games.
They're done. D-U-N done, as I like to say. D-U-N done.
The only people that say that they're going to come back and win the division have 2 things. One, they have just been so whipped by the Cardinals their whole life. Similar to if you're a Bengals fan, the Steelers have just warped your brain into thinking that they're always going to do something great.
Yep.
But the only way in which the Cardinals win the division is if the winner of the division wins like 83 games. And I think we are well past that now, with the Reds being 9 games over 500, the Brewers being 5 games over 500 here at the All-Star break. 83, 84 wins is not going to win this division. No, and that's the only way in which the Cardinals have a shot at it.
Well, I think you're right. The Cardinals for me are done. And listen, this is why when this season started, all everybody talked about was these great young star players the Cardinals have, right? How they looking? How are they look? I mean, look. The Reds' young star players have played great. When the Cardinals brought up some of their young guys last year, they played really, really well too. Maybe not to the magnitude of what McLean and De La Cruz have done in McLean's case in a month and a half, almost 2 months now. De La Cruz, not even a month. But you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. Just look at Lodolo and Green this year. Nobody would have predicted this would happen, and God bless them. You hope they get healthy and come back and they can help this team win. But when you get the chance, you got to do it, because you just don't know. If your entire team is basically relying, and let's be honest about it, this entire Reds team, outside of Votto's only been back and really not done much. He's hit a few home runs, but he's hitting a $190 after getting 2 or 3 hits the other night, right?
Yep.
So, look, and maybe he'll get better. And he is hitting some home runs, some big home runs, in fact. A game winner the other day. But this entire team is built around a bunch of 20-something-year-old guys. So we saw, just use Jonathan India as a case in point. His rookie year, rookie of the year. Second year, terrible, right? He was hurt, in fairness, but terrible. This year, he's been good. He's been good. Been very good at times. Last month, not so good until the other day with a couple of home runs. But, Elliot, you get what I'm saying here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think you look at the difference, and Tom said it, one day you're the Cardinals of old, and then you wake up and then you're this Cardinals team out of nowhere. I think you look at the Cardinals' depth. Their pitching is atrocious. It's abysmal. But they tried to do it the way the Reds have been doing it successfully right now. Nick Krall has successfully built this team, whether or not – and again, I was against it. I was against this method from the beginning. I said they shouldn't have traded Suarez. They shouldn't have traded Winker. Those guys were under team control and with friendly contracts. I have been proven wrong again and again and again, and it's working. It's working. Nobody understands. And I said it last night, I don't understand how it's working, but the lineup crushes. They have not been shut out. I think the last time was a month ago against the Dodgers in a middle of the day game. I think Trace was at that game. He might have jinxed them. But other than that, I mean, this offense doesn't stop. Despite the obvious holes in the starting pitching depth right now, they are battling adversity left and right. The bullpen, again, you couldn't walk on the street and ask anybody, name a player on this Reds bullpen. Nobody would know. Nobody would know a single player on this Reds bullpen before the season.
Yep.
They still might not know now.
Oh.
I mean, Ian Jabot, Great Britain.
That's your guy. That's your guy. Don't badmouth him now.
Well, Tom, do you think Ian Jabot celebrated 4th of July? Because you know he's from Great Britain. He pitched for Great Britain. He pitched for the Brits.
Houston, Texas.
Huh?
Houston, Texas, Elliot.
Well, then why is he pitching for Great Britain?
Well, there are other guys that do that.
Well, but Ian Jabot's our guy, and he's pitching. I'm just saying, listen, you go through the bullpen. I don't know how they're doing it. I don't understand why they're doing it, but they're destroying MLB batters. Really, they are. The way the lineup is hitting and the way the bullpen is pitching, we're winning games. We're going to win a lot of games going forward. The starting pitcher, we have to have a couple more starting pitchers. It's going to have to happen at some point.
Somebody wrote in the chat that the Cardinals went all in, trading a bunch of young guys to get a bunch of old guys. Their outfielders right now are Alec Burleson, okay, who's 24 years old. Burleson, all we heard about was how great he was going to be. Dylan Carlson, the same thing. He's 24 years old. You've got Jordan Walker, who's
playing
21.
Well. He's
right?
playing well.
What's that?
Jordan Walker's playing well, right?
Yeah, but I'm saying he's 21. These are all these young guys. Newt Barr, 25. I mean, these are all the outfielders they have. Now, granted, they went out and spent some money on Goldschmidt and Arenado, but Edmonds a young player. I know he's been around for a couple of years. Donovan's a young player. Nolan Gorman. They brought in Contreras. That's been a disaster. Disaster. I mean, the pitchers don't even want to pitch to the guy.
Yeah, that's your boy, Reed.
Yeah,
that's your guy, Reed.
It's funny that Wilson Contreras leaves.
Guy.
It's funny that Wilson Contreras leaves the Cubs, and the Cubs have two pitchers with out of the 3 best ERAs in the league. It's funny how that adds up there, Tom. It's 1-1. You know what? You mentioned Ian Jabot being from Great Britain. Lars Nootbaar played for Team Japan. Is he from Japan, Elliot?
No, I respect Lars Nootbaar for that. I just, Ian Jabot, he played for the opposing side.
Also,
Great Britain, some say they blew a 13-colony lead. Some say that. Nice. I won't say it, but some say it. And he went and played for him.
I think they had a lot more colonies than 13, that they lost. They had a lot more than that.
Well, that's the one I'm mentioning.
That's right.
US of A, baby.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother. Amen.
Elliot, you mentioned that you said that you disagreed with pretty much every move that the Reds have done, and that you've been wrong on every single one of them. Are you pro trading Jonathan India?
I am anti.
So
okay. I am against.
That's where his buddy sidekick there sitting next to him has a little bit different feeling about that.
And his ego, Jacob's ego right now is sparked because Noelvi Marte. I think did he have 2 triples last night or 1 triple?
He had 2 hits and 2 steals. We're all sitting here complaining about, Joey Votto's only hitting home runs, blah, blah, blah. Since his call-up, he's playing better than Jonathan India in the last 15 games.
That's unfortunate.
Better stats across the board.
Did you see the pickoff, Tom? When Jonathan India was...
The bases are loaded.
Yeah.
And you have your best bat, arguably, at the plate.
Yeah.
He's up in the count, and you're standing at first base, and you're going to get back-picked by one of the worst defensive catchers in the league. I mean,
He's
that's
got a cannon. He's got a cannon.
It doesn't matter. That can't.
Reed.
That can't.
You're getting
You know
backpicked
that,
at
Reed.
first
You're
where
a
you don't
baseball
have
guy.
anywhere to go.
Reed's a catcher, too.
There's someone on second base. Like, I don't get it. That was one of the most inexcusable plays I've ever seen. Because that's just falling asleep.
It just put the spark in Ellie De La Cruz. Next at bat, home run, 460 feet. How about that moonshot?
Yeah, that was chess, not checkers. I mean, he knew that they needed a little bit of a spark. They needed something going wrong to go right. And you know what? That's just Jonathan India, the leader
It's
of
him
this
being a
ball
leader.
club.
Can't argue with that.
That's a leader.
Boom Shakalaka asks the question, Tom, does Elliott remind you of a young Richard Skinner? I love Skinny. Does a solid job.
I'm a big fan of him as well. So that's a compliment, and I'll take it, Boom Shakalaka.
Does he remind you of a young Richard Skinner, Tom?
I don't remember a young Richard Skinner. He had already been around for a while by the time I showed up. But he's still around. He's doing a bunch of stuff for Channel 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
good for him. Well, good for him. A couple other things that come up in the chat that I find interesting is that help me with this because you guys are the stat guys. Andrew says India has the worst splits on the team. In regard to what? What would that be?
He might just be talking about in general.
It might just be
in his last 15 games, India's batting splits are 175, 299 on base, and slugging 333.
Not a lot of extra base hits for my guy. Not a
Yeah,
lot
the
of
2
doubles
home runs
this year.
in one game.
And
Two home runs in one
and
game.
a grand slam, and we were down 500. So that was good.
Don't minimize a grand slam because the Reds were
That's
losing
right.
by 7.
That's right.
Those
You know,
runs
guys
count.
get worked up when you say things about. I mean, I remember when I did a Reds game. We're in Philadelphia. Game wound up going, I think, 17 innings. And in like the 7th or 8th inning, Brandon Phillips is at second base. And I loved Brandon Phillips. I'll say that right now. Some people may feel the same way. Others may feel differently. I saw that guy every day. It didn't matter what you asked him to do. Bat anywhere in the batting order. Bat leadoff, bat second, bat third, bat fourth, bat sixth. Whatever you asked him to do, no complaints. Just put him in a lineup, go play. I saw this guy play through injuries that I'm not so sure outside of the Hall of Famer Andre Dawson, who I was around for 3 years in Chicago when he was near the end and playing on a lot of AstroTurf and his knees. Never seen a tougher man in my life than Andre Dawson. It was mind-boggling to watch the pain he was in, and he answered the call every single day. Brandon Phillips was the same way. He'd get hit in the hand, no doubt about it. There's something in there that's really messed up. On the wrist, foul a ball off his leg. I mean, and the guy always answered the bell. He's in a lineup. Anyway, his game in Philadelphia. Jimmy Rollins is the shortstop for Philly. Well, Brandon Phillips and Rollins must be buddies, right? So they're standing there, and Phillips is at second base, and there's, one out in the inning, and tie game, like the 8th maybe. And Brandon's taking his lead, and man, he's carrying on with Jimmy Rollins, and they're talking, pitch would be thrown, he'd walk back, touch a base, go back, take his big lead. Man, they're laughing and yucking it up, bam! Pick off, done, DUA, gone. Next guy, naturally, gets a base hit into right center field that would have given the Reds a lead. So as the game went on, I continued to bring up what happened in the 8th inning. I brought it up in maybe the 10th, maybe the 11th, maybe the 12th, maybe again in the 15th, maybe again in the 16th. And I got read the riot act by the powers that be at Fox Sports Ohio. When is enough enough? It costs you the game. Mm-hmm. Costs you the game, yep. Period. And, I always felt like those were the things that you had to talk about, and talk about it again and again and again, because that was the single biggest play of the game. So, hopefully India, like Phillips did, because it never happened again with Phillips that I could remember, hopefully it's just one of those brain cramps that will happen to the best of them. They've happened to Pujols, they've happened to Griffey, they've happened to A-Rod, they've even happened to Jeter. I can promise you at some point in time, Derek Jeter has had a brain cramp, made a mistake, and now it's what you do thereafter. So you learn from it and not let it happen again. Right?
Right.
It's going to happen.
You play too much baseball for those things. They will happen, right?
Look, it's a long year, man. And I thought Nick Kirby had a very interesting point yesterday when he talked about this Reds team, and we were just talking about the youth of this Reds team and how he would be very careful. Maybe you guys talked about it, I don't know, last night, Elliot. None of these guys, not any of them, has played a 162 game schedule. Not De La Cruz, because they don't play that many games in the minor leagues in a season. They're in the 130s, 120s, right?
Yeah.
So, whether it's De La Cruz, who hadn't even been around that long anyway, McLean hadn't been around that long, you go on and on and on. Friedel has not been an everyday guy for a 162 game schedule. Benson, Steer, Stevenson really has not, because he didn't, he got hurt last year. He was around the year before, but that's when they brought him up. So, none of these guys has played an entire season. So, those are little things you learn as you continue to go on as a young player. Okay, you made a mistake. It didn't cost your team the game. So now you learn from it and don't make the same mistake again. All right, anything on the Reds that we want to finish up on? I want to drift into a little bit more of this Corey Dillon conversation because I think it's very interesting. Anything else?
I just want to touch on how big the length we've been getting out of Reds starting pitching lately has been. The bullpen was taxed going into this series, and the Reds starting pitching has gone 6 innings for what seems like a whole week now. So that's just been absolutely crucial to get these guys back healthy going into 6 massive games against Milwaukee.
Thoughts, anybody?
No, all this talk about the Reds starting pitching, and really since it's really broken down and gotten a lot of traction about whether or not the Reds need to add to the starting rotation, which, by the way, I still think that they do. The pitching's been fine. It's been great.
Great's a stretch.
Great's a stretch. But they've been helping out the bullpen. They've been getting deep in the ball games, which was a far improvement than where they were coming back down 6-1 every single night.
Yep. So, I was bummed they didn't go get Chapman. I thought that was a great move by Texas.
Yeah.
We only saw Texas for 3 games, and when the Reds played them, and I wasn't impressed at all. Now it's only 3 games, and they continue to be in first place. Although Houston's closing, They're closing, and they're getting healthier, and Houston's starting to kick it into a different gear now, and so they're on a winning streak right now. Jordan says the Rangers are good. Okay, you say so, I believe it. Their record would tell you that they're good. I don't
2
buy
games
it.
back.
Yeah,
2 games back.
I don't buy their starting pitching. I don't at all. And then they went out and just made, and we said it at the time, maybe the single most ridiculous move I've ever seen in my life, given DeGrom that contract. Guy hadn't pitched in 3 years.
Yeah, best ability is availability, and DeGrom hasn't been available in a long, long time.
When he's healthy, he is without a doubt the best pitcher in baseball.
100%.
No doubt about it. He has the best stuff, makeup, everything of any pitcher in Major League Baseball. But when you cannot pitch basically for 2 full years, a little bit in 1 year, a little bit in the next year, hurt all the time, they signed him, and we're like, you got to be kidding. You got to be kidding. And they did, and now, sadly, he is hurt again. Another Tommy John surgery, is going to be out at least a year. It's a long-term deal. We hope and pray the guy can come back because he's a great pitcher and seems like a really, really good guy. Anything in baseball you guys want to cover before we move on? Anything at all?
No. Well, we could do the Immaculate Grid again.
You want to do Immaculate Grid, Tom?
Let's do the Immaculate Grid. Here we go. The Immaculate Grid, as we call it. So please explain the rules of the game for those new.
So if you've ever done a Sudoku puzzle, it's basically baseball Sudoku. You get on the left side, it's got to be a Tampa Bay Ray and a Houston Astro, and you got to line it up with the right side. The goal is to get the lowest score possible. It's like golf, and your score is just the sum of the percentages that you get from each player. So how many people that fill out that exact answer goes on. So without further ado, I'll start it off with an Astro and a Philly, and one of the most underrated players, I think, of the past 2 decades, and that's Bobby Abreu.
Solid player.
Yeah, it was a great player.
Well, I mean, the guy played on terrible teams. He was an outstanding player.
What's his last
AB.
name? AB.
Yep, he's right there at the bottom. Yep, Bobby Abreu.
Okay.
3%er.
Okay.
Love that.
I'm going to go Dodgers, Phillies. I'm going to take Jason Worth. Gamer.
Gamer.
He was a
baby.
gamer. Jason with
Gamer.
a Y. Jason with a Y.
Total gamer.
Right there. Jason Worth. Love that. 1%.
There you go, Daddy. Look no further. All right, who's up?
I got
Somebody
one.
jump in there.
I get
Former
one.
red for us?
I have a former Red for you. Tampa Bay, Houston. Listen to this guy, Brooks Raley. Anybody remember a Brooks Raley?
Yes. He's going to be
That's it, right?
0%.
It'll be 0.
Yeah.
It'll be. That's a good
You're
one.
going to beat my Jason.
3%.
Oh, my gosh.
More fans than I thought.
More than Jason. But Jason Worth was a hell of a player. Won a World Series with the Nationals, if I remember right. All right. Let's see here. Dodgers Cy Young Award winner. We're going to go with Mike Marshall. The greatest reliever, I would make the argument.
Did he win a Cy Young?
Yes, and as a reliever, won a Cy Young.
From 67 to 81?
Yep,
Or is it from 81
That's
to 91?
67 to 81.
67 to 81.
Okay. There we go.
0.6.
That's a nice one.
I'll give you your 2021 Cy Young, Robbie Ray.
Wow.
200 Ks. That's going to be a low one, I guarantee that.
What was Marshall?
He was 0.6%. So
2014.
0.6%.
All right,
That's
Tom.
good. That's a great answer.
My two guys combined are 1.6.
Robbie Ray.
There's nobody that's
That
been
Robbie
better than
Ray.
that on
Robbie
this
Ray.
tired program.
1%. There's only been 4 Cy Young Award winners in Houston history.
Yes. How many can you name?
I can name all 4.
Did you look them up?
No, Justin Verlander, Dallas Keuchel, Roger Clemens, and Mike Scott.
Mike Scott for sure won one. Are you sure that J.R. Richard never won one?
I'll look him up right. J.R. Richard did not win one.
Okay.
What-
How about Don Wilson never won one? Okay.
I think those are the only 4. So we have to decide which of those 4 would get the lowest percentage. Justin Verlander is
you
out.
gotta think Mike
Dallas
Scott.
Keuchel is out. I think it's Mike Scott, but I think people forget about Roger Clemens.
You want to hear the
Dallas
most unbelievable stat you've ever heard in your life about Mike Marshall? Now think about this for a second, fellas. Think about this for a second.
8%er.
Okay? Think about this. This is truly, this might be the most amazing statistic there is in baseball. In 1974, so 3 years in a row, he finishes, okay, in 72 with Montreal, he finishes 4th in the Cy Young, 10th in the MVP. The next year with Montreal, he finishes 2nd in the Cy Young, 5th in the MVP. Okay? In 1974, Mike Marshall pitched for the Dodgers. 106 games. He threw 208 innings as a reliever. Won the Cy Young Award, was 3rd in the MVP balloting. He had back-to-back years, 73 and 74, where he pitched in 198 games and threw over or almost 400 innings.
You never see relievers, like relievers in the 70s and 60s would throw 150 innings. That never happened.
Pedro Bourbon.
Yeah, they would throw 150 innings.
Yeah. All right, back to the game. I didn't mean to bore everybody. Go ahead.
I'm going to steal one for Los Angeles and Tampa Bay. Future Hall of Famer. Well, I guess he's already a Hall of Famer. He gets inducted soon. The Crime Dog, Fred McGriff, played for both those teams.
Well, he's going to be up there.
McGriff.
He played for the Dodgers?
At the end of his career.
Okay.
In case
2%er.
I've got one right next to him.
Okay.
So that's the 200 strikeout for Tampa Bay. We're going to go Charlie Morton. How about Charlie Morton?
Did Charlie Morton strike out 200 batters?
I think so. We're
Yeah,
going to find
for
out.
sure.
Do it. That's our guess.
Sure. He did.
Is that what we're going with? Charlie
Yeah,
Morton?
Charlie Morton.
Yes.
Is there a better Philly for 200 Ks than Zach Wheeler?
What about Roy?
Roy would have done it.
Yeah, Schilling would have done it.
Time.
You're not going to get, and then going all the way back, the former senator from Kentucky,
I was going to say,
Jim Bunning.
Jim Bunning. Did Jim Bunning ever do it?
Oh, sure he did.
Yeah, let's
This would be a low one.
let's go Hall of Famer, Sane X bomber, Jim Bunning.
Jim Bunning.
Senator.
Leader of men.
Long blue line.
Come on, this would be a low one. This would be a really good one if we can do
Jim
this.
Bunning, right there.
Oh, bunting. Okay, I thought you said bunting. There we go.
Wow.
23.
Hey, that's a big number. Who? What about the one you had, Elliot?
70, I think, was ours. Was
What
that
did
right?
we get?
What was the other one you guessed?
It was
What do you mean?
0.7.
Oh, the other pitcher?
Yeah.
I had Charlie Morton and I guess Brooks Raley.
No, who was it? What was the other guess for the Phillies? We had Jim Bunning. We were talking about somebody before him.
Zach Wheeler.
Zach Wheeler. Well,
Zach
let's see what
Wheeler.
his number is. That was Jake's number.
Well, we had the low. We beat our
Higher than
record.
Jim Bunning.
We beat our record.
It
for,
was?
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was.
Jim Bunning 0.7. That's great. That was the second lowest we had on the chart.
Can we, does our
Zach
score-
Wheeler would have gotten. I'll pull it up.
Alex had a
7%.
good guess here. He said, I tried to get a small number here and tried Kevin Millwood. You can't have Steve Carlton, PB's Ghost. That's number one by far. Highest.
Yeah.
Right?
Or
Yep.
Roy Halladay. Roy Halladay would have been up there as well because it's
But nobody is Carlton.
23s are the new record, guys. Great. That was a great round.
I don't know if we can beat that.
I don't know that anyone
Oh,
can
we
beat
can
that.
beat it.
27's good. All right.
Lane, you missed out. He wants to know when Paul Daugherty is coming on the show. we have the Tracer
Yeah, Tracy's coming on.
Coming up in 9 minutes.
coming up in about 9 minutes. Get his thoughts on the Red Legs and anything else that might be on his mind. I'm sure he has a lot on his mind. There was a lot going on down there in his hood. If he was around, I mean, with all the Taylor Swift. Did any of you guys go to Taylor Swift?
He went outside the stadium.
Yeah, I know. We talked about that.
Yep. I don't think any of us went.
Okay.
Paul did.
Yeah, you gotta
Paul
wait for Paul
did.
to
We're
get
gonna
back
have
for
to
all your
talk to Paul
questions.
about it when he comes back.
But I
Did your
went to
daughter get tickets? It was her birthday over the weekend. Did she get tickets?
Our
for-
daughter got invited by a friend Friday night, a couple of weeks ago, so she was very excited about that. Her birthday was the next day, the next day, and then my wife's sister was in town with her two girls from California. They went and did what Casey did on Saturday night. They went and hung outside the stadium. Has anybody seen that video? I don't know if the thing went viral. Was there ever a video that went viral of a female Cincinnati police officer right next to Paul Brown Stadium dancing?
Yes, I did see that. It was a great video.
It was unbelievable. My wife was right there and has 4 or 5 minutes. It was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. In a day and age where all we do is turn on the television and the cops are blamed for every single bad thing that happens in the world, it was so cool to see her out there dancing to the music. People were coming over and dancing with her. It was right on that road that runs right next to Paul Brown. It goes down that little ramp, the dead ends there in the Merriing Way.
Yep.
And it was really, really cool. So that was good stuff. But anyway, there was a lot going on in Tracer's neighborhood down there, right? You had Taylor Swift. You had the Redlegs. Had a lot going on. Fireworks.
Lot going on. It was 4th of July, packed 4th of July weekend for the city of Cincinnati. If you missed the Taylor Swift concert this past weekend, you could see it right here in Hamilton this Saturday. The Taylor Swift Experience at River's Edge concert venue. You get your Pawnee water, the official water of the River's Edge concert series. Be a lot of fun. I actually this isn't funny, so I should stop.
So
laughing.
should I say to my wife, honey, I'm sorry I didn't get you tickets, but...
Do you want to go see Kane and Ren at the Taylor Swift Experience in Hamilton? But
we have no plans this weekend. That
come
that
on
could
down,
be an
Tom. It's a
option.
free concert. $6 beers.
That's
Used to be
a
$4.
good deal.
Used to be $4. Then Joe Biden got in office.
Oh.
and things
Hey, you're right about
have
that.
gotten
Hey, you're
crazy.
right about that.
So this is not funny, and I can't say this like smirking. Everyone is okay, but I was just checking the Journal News last night, which is the Hamilton's local newspaper.
That's where Joe, why am I drawing a blank? Legendary writer, covered for years and years of Reds. One of the greatest dudes of all time. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on his name. Go ahead. Anyway.
So apparently on the 4th of July here in town, right near this concert venue, someone got shot by a stray bullet falling out of the sky. Like someone I don't know how far bullets can travel, but we're just shooting bullets up into the sky, and someone got hit by one at the concert venue this past weekend. They're okay. It literally just like, I guess, didn't do a whole lot of damage. Like they're completely fine, but it was a bullet falling out of the sky, which is, you hear about that stuff happening, but I've never like.
I thought they disintegrated in the air.
I would argue you don't hear about stuff like that happening.
Well, that's what they're. I don't
Well,
know.
here are some answers for you if you're looking for answers, okay? A centerfire bullet can travel actually several miles. Small shots can go between 200 and 350 yards. Larger shots, 600 yards. But a .22 caliber bullet can travel anywhere from a mile to a mile and a half. Some have been known to travel as long as 3 miles.
Yeah, so this person got hit in the chest, like right around the corner, and they said it flew out of the sky from the countryside.
Now, what I'm about to say, it's
okay.
It's gonna come off as sounding like I don't like Hamilton.
I'll let it go.
It's gonna come off as sounding like I don't like Hamilton, but
Yeah.
that's not true because I love Hamilton.
Yeah,
I love the Hamilton
Just
River.
Just get to it.
Some would argue that bullets flying from the sky, falling out of the sky while you're in a park. I mean, some would argue that's not a great place to be.
Not what you want.
I mean, it's raining bullets.
Do you think that?
That's a legitimate. That's a
good
legitimate.
question.
I mean, it's
So
raining
here's
bullets.
That's
the
a
thing.
legitimate point, Reed.
Here's
you
the
can't
thing.
argue that. Don't try to argue that point.
No. I'm not trying to argue the point. Not what you want. But
what you want.
that person that shot that bullet, like there is someone that has heard the news and like in their head was like, oh, I was just shooting my gun off into the sky.
Right.
They now know that they could do that. Like that person has power and could get away with a crime, like a serious crime if they wanted to.
The player formerly known as Mouse Cop wants to know, is Hamilton more dangerous than the Ukraine?
Nowhere safe.
Yeah, what does it mean that if
I mean, Elliot asked a more than legitimate question here.
I
if
can't
you
argue.
are outside and all you're trying to do is get a $6 Biden inflation beer,
Enjoy a concert.
and
sit by the
you're-
water.
sit by the river.
Just listen to some Taylor Swift.
Exactly, Casey. Thank you.
Gotta
Listen
bring
to
an
some-
umbrella.
You can't
Good
shake
tune.
that off.
Kevlar
Reed.
umbrella.
You
And
can't
the
shake off
next
that
thing
bullet
you
from the
know,
sky.
you've got a slug in your chest. I mean, what the hell's going on here?
I would argue that is, I mean, you can't come with a better story than that. That's what Hamilton does. We give you memories for life, Tom. And that's all a city can
that's a
really
memory,
do
all
is
right.
they can make you interesting at a party. You know, you're the talk of every party for the rest of your life, Tom. I was just out watching fireworks in downtown Hamilton. Next thing you know, boom.
I got
Boy,
hit by
now
a
there's
sky
something I'm
bullet
hoping
in
for. I
Hamilton.
can brag at a party that I took a bullet to the shoulder,
That's the next shirt.
hanging out in Hamilton to be the life of the party.
The next shirt, I took a sky bullet in Hamilton, Ohio.
Listening to the fake Taylor Swift.
Hey, that was the fake Motley Crue that they were listening to that night. They were actually just watching the fireworks. It was near the bridge.
Jolly, who is a Hamilton native, so he can
Correct.
call it Hamiltucky. He can do all those things.
He can, absolutely.
Right? He chimes in all the way from Los Angeles. Just goes to show, you got to be tough to be from Hamilton.
Right, those East Siders that grew up in Anderson, Kenwood, or the West Siders that grew up in Cheviot, wherever Elliot's from, they're not tough like us Hamiltonians. As you can tell by the way that I get incredibly offended every time someone talks bad about the city.
I didn't bring that story up. You brought it up. I would have never found that out.
It's a crazy story. It's
Have you ever thought of running? I'm being very sincere. People are bringing this up in the chat, but look, I always think it's really cool when you're able to grow up, no matter where you grow up. Okay, I think it's really cool when people are able to look back on their experience growing up, and you pray this would be the case for every child there is that grows up in the world, right? We know it's not. But I always I'm really glad when I hear people that grew up in a place, no matter where it is, talk about how great it is.
Yeah.
All right, and it may not be great. Every place has its shortcomings, but you love Hamilton.
Truly do.
So it's been asked in the chat, would you ever consider running for mayor of Hamilton, Ohio? I think you're the kind of guy, and I mean this sincerely, you would be the kind of guy that would be perfect for that gig.
So I wouldn't stand a prayer against the current mayor, Pat Moeller, who in the most recent election didn't run unopposed, but practically ran unopposed. There was, I don't know, if there was 5,000, I'm actually trying to pull up the exact results. If there were 5,000 votes out, Pat Moeller got like 4,980 of them.
Republican?
I don't even know if.
What do you mean you don't know?
I truly don't know if they had his party. If I had to guess, he's a lawyer, so I would assume that he's a Republican.
There are a lot more Democrat lawyers than Republican.
Not from Hamilton, Ohio. Okay. Not from Butler County, Tom.
All right. What's his name?
Pat Moeller.
Pat, how you spell that?
P-A-T and then
what?
the school.
Like Moeller.
Yep.
All right, let's just check it out, just so I know a little bit more about the town that I come to work in every day. You're right. An attorney is exactly right here in Hamilton, Ohio.
Right. I would run for, city council.
I think it'd be great. You're right.
Yeah.
They don't list the party affiliation. Maybe that's a good thing. You have to read up on what the person's all about.
Yeah, it's not a full-time job being the mayor in Hamilton. It's a part-time gig, so it's there's no monetary value that draws you to the position. It'd be a position of service here in town. Now, like the city manager, that's a full-time job, stuff like that.
Apparently, he is the son of a legendary journal news writer, Bill Moeller.
Really?
Yes. Jolly Jolly just added that. I mean, what the hell is Jolly Jolly adding to the show from L.A. that you can't add to the show? You live here. He lives out there with all the Tracy Jones guys.
He's a little older than me, so
all
he
the
has
Southern California guys. Tracy, are you back? Are you in town? Were you around for the big weekend in downtown Cincinnati? What?
I was in Cincinnati for the weekend. Saw that great Taylor Swift concert. Man, I'll tell you what.
Let me stop. Did you go to the show?
Yeah. Actually did. I was in a box with Richard from Indian Hill. Yes, we went. I actually saw Taylor Swift back 15 years ago. She opened up for Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, and she was really, really good. I'm a big fan. In fact, if I was playing nowadays and if I had walk-up music, which I would, Taylor Swift, if I really wanted to get fired up, she would be my walk-up music, and the song would be Me.
Do we know that song, Me? Anybody know that song?
I wasn't listening.
Okay, well, I don't know that song, but okay, Tracy, you and I both know. I mean, you're a man's man kind of a guy, right? And I've seen Taylor Swift in concert in Columbus years ago. Took the family up there and loved every second of it. Fantastic performer. I did not go this past weekend. But there's no way when you were playing that your walk-up music would be Taylor Swift. There's no way. You
Tom,
and I both know that.
I would surprise you. I'm kind of a metrosexual guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't
know what that means. What does that mean?
Well, just good taste and all that. I take good care of myself, always dress real nice, as I'm dressed nice today. But yeah, I thought she was very entertaining. I liked her concert. John Burns was there as well from Encore Technology.
Yes, indeed.
The CEO, the great CEO. He was there. He loves Taylor Swift. It was just a great night. That place was rocking and rolling. The whole city was that.
I repeat, there's no way if you were walking up to the plate in a major league game. Were they even doing walk-up music when you were playing? I'm being serious. I don't think they were doing it quite yet, were they?
You know what they were doing? They were doing that monkey grinder music. They had the organ player. That's the kind of stuff they had back in those days. That's true. I mean, they didn't have any walk-up music. Tom, you know me. I doubt if Taylor Swift, in all honesty, that I would have Taylor Swift walk-up music. Probably not. But I am in Southern California, and I've got a difficult decision here. I'm here for a while. What should I do today, boys? And I wrote down some things. Now, just see what appeals to you, Tom? Because
By the
you've
way,
been
say good
Southern
morning to everybody, Tracy, to Reed and to Casey and to Jacob and to Elliot. Say hello to everybody, please, before we move on.
Good morning, Ham and Eggers and Reed. I think you'd make a great politician because you never give an opinion. You're kind of waffle. You're in between all the time. Okay, here's what I'm thinking. What about going to PV and taking a hike up out there in Palos Verdes?
I have done that many times myself. Go ahead.
Okay. What about going to Lake Arrowhead with Tucker for a walk? You know, that's only 45 minutes right there on the lake. The problem with that, with all the mountain lions, little concerned about bringing Tucker there, right? They got a mountain lion problem. What about just doing something off the wall, maybe going surfing? I can go surfing there in Manhattan Beach. I've got a board here, a Dewey Weber board, and I might take it and go surfing. Thinking about just taking the boat over to Catalina for the day. I don't know if you've ever done that, Tom, but that's kind of appealing. What about just going and getting on a flight to Vegas? Takes 40 minutes. I could stay in Vegas and be back by the end of by about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, but why come back? And why come back at 1 in the morning when you can come back tomorrow at 1 in the afternoon?
Well, yeah, I'm just talking about because then Danae will know I'll be gone and probably at some strip bar in Vegas. So I've got to, she's going to be busy today. What about taking a train to San Diego? What about that? Or how about
I've done that.
What
many
about
times.
wine tasting in Santa Barbara? What about going to a Dodger game tonight? What about Disneyland? I haven't been to Disneyland in a long time. Tom, my point is there's nothing to do here. There's nothing to do, and I'm struggling. Do you guys have any ideas? What would be your choice?
Well, I mean, I am always a fan. I mean, anytime I'm near any body of water, and especially Pacific, there are a lot of wimps out there in Southern California, down all the way to San Diego. I come out there. I've been coming on vacation there, getting ready to go at the end of the month to San Diego every single year, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else that gets in that water, 67, 68 degrees, right? They got to have a wetsuit on. Not me, big boy. I'm right in there all day long. No wetsuit. So, to answer the question, I'm not a surfer, but if I knew how to surf, which you apparently do, that is lock, stock, and barrel my choice. Gentlemen, want to weigh in on the options. Jake, we begin with you.
Yeah, I mean, surfing, that looks, I've never surfed, but that looks like the best time. I'm with you, Tom. That'd definitely be my choice if I was able to do it.
I'm not a surfer. I'm a skier. I can ski now. But surfing is...
Are you saying snow ski?
Snow ski.
Well, Tracy, one thing you left off, the Jolly who lives in Southern California, he said you could go skiing up at Big Bear. This time of year you could do that?
There might be a little snow left. That Jolly's right on there. You could go snow skiing. Think about this, boys. It's supposed to be 84 today, but you could take an hour ride up to Big Bear and do snow skiing. You could also water ski on Lake Arrowhead, some of the great lakes that they have. But like I said, there's not many options to do. This is rather a boring place.
Well, so, Elliot, what would be your choice, did you say? You never said.
I could water ski. I would water ski. We could try that.
Okay. All right.
We could try it.
There we go. And Reed?
Yeah, I don't think there's a damn thing you can do in Southern California. So the first thing I would do, Tracy, is I'd get a taxi cab and just take you straight to Los Angeles International Airport, get on the first flight back here to Cincinnati, drive 45 minutes, and come eat lunch with us here in Hamilton, Ohio. What's better than that, Tracy?
Well, let me throw this at you. Here's another option, Tom, and I think this might appeal to you. Well, I don't think the second half probably wouldn't, but I could borrow my mother-in-law's $268,000 Porsche, cruise down Hollywood and maybe pull some wool, do something like that on the edge, something like that, Tom. Top down, of course.
Well, that won't attract anybody in Southern. That's way too cheap of a car for Hollywood, Tracy. You got to go way better than that. That ain't going to attract anybody.
Tracy, it really is. Your options are limited. If you had to rank your top two right now, what would they be?
Well, I can just give you what I'm actually going to do today. I'm going to move some furniture into this place. That's what I'm going to do.
Oh, my God. Is this a place where you were cleaning toilets, right?
Yeah. Very
and I see
good,
it's
Tom.
been decorated in the back since the last time we saw you. I mean, there's furniture in there, TV in there, very nice lighting in there, a lot going on.
Right. Well, it's called an ADU, alternative. What is it? Something. It's a guest house, is what it is.
Oh, okay.
So
All
we
right,
have
okay.
a guest house. I tell you what's embarrassing as we look behind me. That's a 25-inch TV. I haven't watched a 25-inch TV in years, so I got to go out and buy a TV today. Probably, what should I get? Like a 80-inch, 150-inch?
Yeah, the problem
Something
is
like
you
that?
have to cover up the fireplace. You're not allowed to have fireplaces in California, are you?
Yeah, it's all fake. It's just, gives you the appearance that you've got a fireplace. And why in the hell do you need a fireplace here in Southern California? Let me just, and also, here, can I just step away for a minute? It is always overcast here. Tom, you know that on the coastlines?
Well, you haven't reached that. I heard one of the announcers. I was clicking through some of the games, and I heard one of the announcers talking about that June gloom and how now it's getting out of here for good.
Right.
I've been out there. I'm not so sure that really is gone, especially as close to the coast as you are. I'm not sure that's really gone till like mid-July, late July. You with me on that or no?
Oh, I agree with you. And it's getting later and later. I don't know. I mean, I sit there and I watch California weather, compare them to our weather. Our weather hasn't been that bad at all this year. I think it's been pretty
great.
darn good.
It's been great.
The weather in California, yesterday was the first sunshine they've had in 7 days. So I don't know what that's all about. But finally, the June gloom's kind of breaking up. But it's tough being on the coast.
All right. I know you've still been paying attention, though, and I don't know if word has made its way to Southern California about one of your former teams. You played for 5 teams. I don't know if a lot of people know
Yes, I
that.
did.
You played for 5 major league teams. One of them, the streaking Cincinnati Reds.
Well, I do follow the Reds on a daily basis, and I'll tell you why they're winning. And I don't think this is earth-shattering. I think people know this. It's the base running. It's the stolen bases. Do you know the Reds stole 50 stolen bases in the month of June? They stole 56 last year. The closest to them, the second team, was Houston with 31. They've stolen 102 stolen bases. That's more stolen bases than they had combined the last 2 years. Let me throw one more stat at you. They have more runners scoring from second than any team in baseball. So what does that tell you, Tom? And you know this. Get them in scoring position and get that 1 hit instead of 2 hits. That's how they're winning. I mean, they're getting clutch hits. They got a couple guys with over 50 ribeye steaks. That hasn't happened in a long time.
Yep.
And it's just a very scrappy team. I love watching these guys.
It's interesting you bring it up because when the rules, some of the rules were changed this year, and primarily the one I'm referring to is the shift.
Yes.
And then in addition, proving to be every bit as big, especially for these Redlegs, the size of the bases and the number of times a pitcher can throw over now. Okay,
yes.
Those are dramatic influences on the game. Most people have centered on the pitch clock because now you're watching shorter games and that kind of thing, quicker games, better pace, better action, more action. But when they started announcing some of these things, the first thing that clicks into my mind is this is now going to be the possibility of eroding analytics, or at least scouting players according to analytics, right? How much are they walking? How much are they hitting? All these kinds of things. And look, anybody who says with the way the game is structured now, shift, base size, pitch clock, number of times you can throw over, number of times you can step off, all of these things where the run game has become all of a sudden far more important in baseball than it's been really since the mid-'80s with the Cardinals teams and guys that could run like you, Tracy Jones. This now all of a sudden, instead of that big lumbering dude you were looking at, a first baseman from down in Killeen, Texas, right? Now you might start looking at that cat down in Ocala, Florida, who can run like the wind and put the bat on the ball.
The Reds have the blueprint, right? This is a team that lost 100 games last year. So how did they do it? They did it by getting that guy on second base. They got it from a guy goes from first to third base on a base hit. I mean, that running game is so important. I do a show. I don't know if anybody ever listens to the show. I do a show, Jones and Brennaman on baseball. And we've done it for a while.
Is it called Jones and Brennaman on baseball?
It's really called Jones and Amanda Brennaman's husband on baseball. Marty hates that, by the way. But Marty and I would talk about how eventually someone's going to go back to the speed game. And Tom, you mentioned the Cardinals. The Cardinals had one hitter that could put the ball out of the ballpark, and that was Jack Clark. But every single guy, and I mean every single guy, could run. And that's kind of like the Reds have now. And I think it's a good blueprint. And I think the general manager has done a great job. Scouting, player development, everything.
But Tracy, you and I both know they are going against the grain as far as being able to sustain this. I know they've had here this week a couple of guys that have given them decent starting pitching. But when you're still running Luke Weaver and Brandon Williamson and some dude who was pitching in independent league baseball in New Jersey a month and a half. God bless him. I mean, God bless him.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm really genuinely happy for the guy.
Yeah.
But look, that's got to change, Tracy. It's got to change.
You know, Tom, you've brought this up the last couple of weeks, and you're exactly right. The problem is there hasn't been another team that has really got hot, have they? And you just sit there and you look at that pitching staff, and when you have an ERA of over 5 in the last few games, I mean, can you maintain and keep going? You just every game you're going to outscore. I think something that's important there is the Reds are only 2 games behind the Diamondbacks, and if they can overtake the Diamondbacks, they could get a first round bye. But they need some pitching. I don't know what you do. Do you trade one of those young guys? I'd be real careful on that. Ashcraft was very good his last 2 outings. And you brought up a point. Hunter Green, what happened with him? What's the problem with the hip? He's 23 years old. He's not 35. I mean, what's with – and Lodolo, I thought he was supposed to be back 2 weeks ago. And you said, well, let's slow it down. I think there's more happening there. And you're exactly right. I don't know when they're going to get those 2 guys back.
Well, I mean, apparently they're both out in Arizona. They're both throwing. To me, again, people get all worked up and all excited about that nonsense. I pay zero attention to that nonsense because Nick Lodolo, I don't care what the hell he's done as far as exercises or whatever else is concerned. You know and I know this, and I'm going to throw Hunter Green in that too because he's still not getting on a mound and pitching to batters and competing where guys are competing back, okay? It's going to take those guys, in my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong, it will take both of those guys minimum 3 weeks at the minimum. If they went out on a rehab tomorrow, which they're not, it's going to take them at least 3 to 4 weeks to be back on the mound again. I'm betting money we don't see either one of them before August 5th.
See, so you're telling me you have to get a pitcher, maybe 2 pitchers, right? I mean, if you're a general manager and you're a smart guy, you know baseball, and I flip-flop on this almost every other day. Do you buy, do you sell, or do you hold if you're the general manager? And I'd really watch trading, Marte, of course, Dela Cruz, untouchable, McLean, untouchable. But what would you do?
Yeah, the guys on the big league club I'm not going to touch, and that includes India. I know some people feel like they should make that move, but if you're truly going for it this year, if that's a decision that they make, I'm not taking Jonathan India off this team for the last 2.5 months of the team. Are you?
No, and it goes back to something we talked about, the whole trading and getting Trevor Bauer. I mean, we threw that out one time, and now that I've heard them get a little bit of traction with the Trevor Bauer. I think that's a really good play. I know that will probably, upset the chemistry, but Tom, I think that's an option. I really do. I'm not just saying a lot of things I just say to be saying. I really believe in that. I think he would be a great addition when he pitches, not in the locker room.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's something you have to think about. I'm sure that knowing the people that would be involved in making that decision down there, I strongly believe, knowing them and their personalities, that the majority of those that would be making that decision sitting in the room, it ultimately would land at the feet of Bob Castellini. But
Right.
knowing some of the others that are going to be in that room having that conversation, the overwhelming majority of them are going to vote no way on him, would be my guess.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, you were around, I think you were still around. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you had been traded by then after you got hurt. April and May, I think it was 87, might have been the two greatest months a Major League Baseball player has ever had. Eric Davis that year. You may remember. Yep. He hit like 3 grand slams in a month. He's on the cover of Sports Illustrated, all these kinds of things. An extraordinarily talented player.
Incredible.
I don't know if you saw the note. Ronald Acuna Jr. of the Atlanta Braves the other day becomes, these are 2 different stats for you, and I'm not a big stats guy, but these are like overwhelming. He becomes the first player ever before the All-Star break with 20 or more homers, 40 or more stolen bases, 50 or more runs batted in. And he becomes the first player ever to have 13 straight games where he either steals a base or hits a home run. I don't know how much you've had a chance to watch him. If you have watched him, what are your thoughts on this guy?
Boy, comparison to Eric Davis in that 87 year. I mean, to me, Eric Davis would have been a Hall of Famer if he hadn't gotten hurt a lot. I saw Eric Davis hit 3 home runs in a game against Philadelphia. Tom, I swear to God, it was cold as a son of a gun. He hits one out to left, center, and right. He was unbelievable. You talk about that 87 team, and I know you people out there think this team is exciting. That 87 team was very, very exciting. You mentioned Eric Davis. We used to have, remember the fights with the Mets? Remember the fights with the Braves? You know, your dad got into it. He had to be sent to the commissioner's office. He and Joe Nuxall, because Pete Rose got in a fight with Dave Pallone. There was a lot. Now, I'm serious. There was a lot to say about that 87 team. There was a lot of excitement. But that Acuna, I mean, I've never seen numbers like that. Not even Eric Davis had numbers like that.
No. I mean, he's on pace to go 40, 80 or something insane, 40, 90, right? Something like that. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Let me ask you this, Tom. Let me ask you this. Do you have a problem with 7 Braves playing in the All-Star game?
No, I don't at all.
You don't at all?
Do you?
Do you have a problem with I have a problem with the fans voting. I have a problem with that.
Okay,
When the
well,
fans vote,
then I ask you this question, okay? Because I'm going to ask you, I'm going to make a statement first and then ask you, okay, how you think they should do it, okay? Oftentimes, you get into let the players vote. That argument's been made, okay? Now, there's a chance you haven't seen a team over the first half of the season, okay? Like the Reds haven't played the Diamondbacks this year. I'm just picking that one, 2 first-place teams, right? So, you know, I mean, that would make it a little tough. Okay. Players were given the chance that are in the Hall of Fame to put other players in the Hall of Fame. They went 2 years in a row and they didn't vote anybody in. They're like a bunch of old men sitting around there and you can't get into our club, right? Okay.
Right. That's so true.
Then for years and years and years, the Gold Glove Award was voted upon by managers in the league. And there was a season a number of years ago where Rafael Palmeiro was voted the Gold Glove winner at first base. He did not play 20 games the whole year at first base. He was a DH. So I don't know how much really, whether it's players, managers, coaches, how much they really pay attention except to their team or on a given night, what team they're playing. Who should be voting if it's not the fans?
Boy, I just know that the fans should not because they stuff the ballot box. You talked about the Gold Glove Award. That's a great topic because I played with a guy, one of my favorites. I bring him up all the time, Buddy Bell. He made 7 errors at third base, and one was, I think he made 2 opening day. And Terry Pendleton had 28 errors. And yet Terry Pendleton got Gold Glove. Not that Terry Pendleton wasn't a good player, but he was. I think maybe a combination. Maybe it's announcers and managers. I just don't like the fans voting. That's a problem. Not to say that the Braves don't have a lot of good players, because they do. That organization is on top of things. I want to know who all their scouts are, because they do a great job scouting.
Well, there's no doubt they've done a great job, and they are they're the gold standard. I mean, the Reds went toe-to-toe with them. They lost 2 out of 3 over that weekend series when they were here, but they were right there with them the whole week. And you know, I look at these I call them ballyhooed, because in this day and age, I just don't think there are 10 great pitchers, starting pitchers in Major League Baseball. I really don't. I don't think there's 10 great starters. There was a time not too long ago where there were 2 or 3 great starters on over half the teams. I looked at the Braves when they came in, and I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute now. These guys are their number 1 or their number 2 or this guy is their number 3 guy? And I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. And we talk about trading. Well, what are you going to get? I mean, how many teams out there are willing to give up a top-notch pitcher, right? Because they feel they're in the hunt. I don't know what's out there for pitchers. But you make another great point, is there were so many good pitchers and so many top-notch. Look at Verlander and Scherzer. I mean, I know they've kind of bounced back a little bit, but they've struggled. I mean, the hitters, which is great.
Seriously, Kershaw's having a great year.
He is.
Okay, but you guys help me here before we let Tracy go. Tell me 3 legitimately what you would call great starting pitchers in the National League.
Spencer Strider, whose ERA has ballooned a little bit, is still on pace to strike out like 300 batters.
Okay, well, that used to happen every year for a handful of guys.
Well, it doesn't happen anymore. Well, if you're talking eras, then he's one of the best in this era, and he's a legitimate great starter. I'm a Cubs fan. Both Justin Steele and Marcus Stroman have a below 2.5 ERA. Marcus Stroman has been pitching to contact, which is kind of an old way of styling, because he has such a great defense behind him.
Shane McClanahan's won
Shane
14 or 14 games this year.
Yep.
He's been pretty great. Framer Valdez was out for a little bit of time, but his ERA is down below 2.5.
But Tom said National League, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. If
Tom
you're just
said
going
National
National League.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen is
Gallen.
fantastic.
But you know what it tells
Julio
me, Tom?
Urias, when he's pitching for the Dodgers, I know he's hurt right now, but he's great. He's been fantastic for years.
Walker Buehler also hurt right now, but
yeah, but not a great starter. Buehler's.
But you know what it tells you guys? It tells you about the rule changes. You know, the pitch clock obviously has affected the pitchers because they can't do much thinking. They got to get the ball and throw it, and I think that's affected the pitchers.
Great.
I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine if I played back in 86, 87, and the pitchers like now facing those guys? Tom, instead of 37 hits in my first 100 at bats, I might get 45 hits in my first 100
I think
at bats.
there's a good chance. I think there's a good chance of that. But you still are the Reds' all-time record holder.
I know. Let's not bring that up. I know you're always wanting to dwell on that. I mean, 37 hits is pretty good. I mean, McClain got close. Dela Cruz is an all-right player. I don't think he'll get to that 37 hits and 100 at-bats, but let's just give him time. Where is he as far as 100 at-bats? Is he anywhere close? I don't think so.
Where is he?
You know that
He's got to be getting close. Matter of fact, I would bet he is at 100 at-bats. He's been up for almost 30
Making
games.
me nervous.
Right?
I think he has to be.
He's got to be close.
Well, let's take a look. We'll wait on our
he's
Stat guys.
110 at bats.
Yeah, baby.
and how many hits?
35.
There you go, Tracer.
He's no Tracy Jones.
Here's what I'm saying. Guys, this record will live forever. And I'm not saying I could have been a better hitter than Votto or Pete Rose or Griffey or some of these other guys that played for the Reds. But, Tom, let's not bring it up again, because it's getting a real tired topic, and I don't want to talk about it. And answer that phone, will you please?
That's probably mine that I left across the room charging. Somebody that is asking for money.
Yeah.
All right, Tracer, we'll let you go. Look, many great options out there in Southern California. I can promise you the sun is shining in Vegas. It's always shining in Vegas.
Always in the desert. And in California, a little overrated. You get that, it's gray skies a lot. Not like it is in Arizona or in Vegas, places like that where you get the blue sky. Or even Florida. But I'll find something to do. Don't worry about me, guys. I'll be okay. I'll be okay. I won't be bored.
Casey, would you like to say goodbye to Mr. Jones?
Tracy Jones, have fun.
Have fun, Tracy, and it's nice to know that you're against the fans voting. I would say that you're against democracy. So it's nice talking with you, Tracy.
Oh, no, he's all about democracy. It's all those meeting with, the social media groups behind closed doors. They're the ones against.
Yeah, let's slow it down on the political talk. I got in trouble from your dad the other day because I started talking about Swiftie and her political views. I
got to tell you one final thing about my dad. And, I mean, my wife said this to me. We were in Annapolis, Maryland last week, all staying in his house.
I heard it was great.
It was unbelievable for my niece going into the Naval Academy. And, look,
big deal.
You got my sister's boys who are in their 20s. You've got, my son who's 18. You've got my daughter who's getting ready to be 20. You got you got adults around there, whole 9 yards. You got people who want to stay up late at night, kind of hang out.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, Hall of Famer never shut it down, man. He just kept going.
He's incredible.
Just kept going.
He's amazing. He's as sharp as when I started with him 25 years ago. I hope I'm half as sharp as Marty. The only thing that I think, Marty, is I have a little bit of a problem, like in Annapolis. How was it when he brought that portable table and chair and then started signing autographs there in Annapolis? We pick up a couple extra bucks. Did you have a problem with that?
It did take away attention from the people who should have been being recognized,
Right.
It took a little attention away. It's kind of like Pete showing up
always
at the
about
Baseball
Marty.
Hall of Fame weekend. You know what I mean? Take some attention away.
Yeah. I know.
All right.
What are you going to do?
Have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, whatever it is you decide to do there in Southern California.
All right, boys. I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Okay, buddy. Tracy Jones. Tracy Jones.
Tom, we have some big news in the chat via Sirboy. Breaking news. The Reds have activated Tony Santillan from the 60-day IL. That's a big boost to the bullpen. But they have DFA'd a local legend, the one save and one appearance, Ricky Karcher, has been DFA'd.
Tom, what was your favorite memory from the Ricky Karcher era?
The whole inning was unbelievable.
It's sad.
Am I right or wrong?
Sad.
I mean, that is it. That is in if the Red. Listen, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I mentioned Robert Ellis yesterday. I think that guy won 9 or 10 games from the Diamondbacks that season in 2001 when they won the World Series. This guy, he wasn't Brett Kennedy, but he wasn't far off. Okay? The Karcher inning. Those are the kinds of things that happen when you win a division championship. You remember stuff and you're like, oh my God, can you believe that happened? Oh, my God, can you believe that happened? How about Ellie De La Cruz? They're checking his bat. Next time he comes up, he hits one 500 miles. That's the stuff that happens when you're in a championship season. And hopefully we see that young man back because he was awesome in the post-game interview, too.
He was fantastic.
He was. All right, we've run overboard here. What do we have a cherry on top?
That is the cherry on top.
That is. Okay. All right.
And Brett Kennedy sent down to AAA.
Would have liked to see him get at least one more outing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's headed back.
Well, who's taking his spot in the rotation?
I believe it'll be I think Fat Tony, my guy.
Or
what did you call him?
Fat Tony.
Ben
He's just
Lively
the guy.
might be back
I call
as
him
well.
Fat Tony. He's my guy. That's my guy.
Ben
Fat
Lively,
Tony.
right? He's coming back.
Yeah, he's
right.
supposed to
Very
be back.
nice, Elliot.
That is nice.
Positivity.
That's my guy.
So before he throws another pitch, I want to know from you, Elliot, because you seem to go a little hot and cold on guys. Jabot, you've been pretty consistent. Are you a Santillan guy?
I am.
Yay or nay?
Yay.
So if he blows up first time out against Milwaukee over the weekend, right? He's still your guy.
Well, I'll give him one blow up. He gets one. Unless if it's the ninth, if it's like game 3 and it's split, the series is tied 1-1, and then he blows it, then I'm out. Then I might be out. We don't know. But Tony had some big games when he was called up, I think in 21, right? When our bullpen was depleted and they just needed a guy to come up. So he came
I'm
up.
heavy on Tony Santion. I'm a big Tony Santion
He's a big
guy.
Tony Santion guy. So
Okay. All right.
Tom, this season does feel like the Moneyball season a little bit. Have you ever you're featured in the Moneyball?
Yeah.
In the Moneyball movie.
Yeah.
I hate that movie.
You still get royalties from that?
Hey, do you get royalties from
I
the
got
Moneyball?
no royalties from that. That was proper. That's when you hear that thing all the time, saying, when they say the disclaimer, this copyrighted broadcast is presented by the Cincinnati, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That broadcast
Never got royalties.
belonged to Major League Baseball the second I uttered all those playoff games with the Oakland A's. Wouldn't bunt. Couldn't move a runner over. They should have beaten the Yankees 3 in a row in the division series. Got beat every year, first round. One year they got to the LCS and got blistered by Detroit.
I hate that movie, Tom, because they act like that athletics team was just the skunk, like the worst team ever before they bring in Scott Hatterberg.
Right.
And it's like that team had Barry Zito, who won the Cy Young, Miguel Tejada, who won the Most Valuable Player award that year, Mark Mulder.
Giambi.
Giambi was gone. That was
Giambi was gone. Okay.
That was the
All
part
right.
of the thing.
Okay.
But like this team
what's
was
his
great.
name? They had the other guy, Mark Mulder, was in the
Mark
rotation.
Mulder?
Tim
Hudson was coming
in
up.
the rotation.
Eric Chavez at third base was
fan.
I mean, they won 100 games the previous 2 seasons.
Jermaine Dye. They had all those guys.
They were great.
Yeah.
And they act like this team was like literally the movie. They act like it was the Major League Cleveland Indians.
That's
like
right.
there's a bunch of nobodies coming out of nowhere. They had the player that won the Cy Young and the MVP on the team.
Yeah.
And they're never mentioned one time in the movie.
No. Well, it's Hollywood.
I get it.
That's right. They want to.
It's a great movie.
The point is, it's a magical run the Reds are on right now. That's my
right.
point.
That's exactly.
They won
right.
100 games the 2 seasons before that.
Yeah, this is. I'm telling you, and it may fall apart at the seams, and it's going to fall apart at the seams if the starting pitching doesn't get better. You can fool yourselves into believing whatever you want. If the starting pitching doesn't get better, it's going to fall apart. But right now, it is an unbelievable story. I would argue, you look at the Marlins, you look at the Reds, and you look at the Diamondbacks. They're the 3 biggest stories, without a doubt, in baseball, right? So, all right. Case, thank you very much. Reed, thanks. Elliot, Jacob, thank you. Tomorrow, Bill Schroeder will join us, longtime TV analyst from the Milwaukee Brewers, to preview the series. That and so much more. We didn't get to the Corey Dillon stuff today. We're going to get to that tomorrow. I'd love to get that dude on the show. Have him go off like he did with Paul Diener Jr.
Be great.
Be awesome. The guy was a player. All right. Reds play at 1 o'clock. Enjoy the game. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.